that, I will call this meeting into order. Just real quick, first order of business, I'd like to just make a motion to approve our minutes from our last meeting on January 3rd. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Is that your first aye?
It is.
Good.
All right. So tonight we're just going to talk about the CPA grant, which to make clear, from my understanding, and please correct me if not, the meeting on Wednesday we'll be going to, so we can get some questions answered and also kind of propose what we're thinking and what we're talking about tonight. So that being said, it sounds like the official proposal or our submission for a CPA grant would be February 11th.
Correct.
That's the official time. But we wanted to do this to make sure we have all the possibilities covered. So when we go to the meeting, which I'm proposing I will go, and Lisa also said you'd like to go Wednesday. That way, two of us going, we have everyone's voice in mind when we go.
Do you want to go, Shelby?
Oh, yeah, I'd be happy to. I think I need to do that by Zoom, but it's a hybrid meeting, so it shouldn't be an issue.
I'd say that again. I'm happy to, but
I probably have to do it by Zoom, but
yes, it is all Zoom.
yeah. So yeah, and I've done these before, so I kind of feel like it would probably be helpful since I've done, I think, 3 CPC grants for the Laurel Hill Association over the years.
Because I have something else at 8 o'clock that night. I'd be happy to not go as long as we decide what we're going to do. If you two are willing to go, that's fine with me.
Sure.
And I think from what Carol said, it's what she would like is a brief description of the commission.
Yeah.
We're pretty new, and like 1 or 2 sentences on the project. That's about it.
Okay.
Maybe a cost estimate, but there's so many, if I'm right, Patrick, there's so many people that will be there that every applicant is pretty quick.
The deadline isn't until February 11th. This is just the informational meeting.
Right. Right.
Right. So we just need a sentence. We need to talk about ourselves.
Yep. And see if what we're proposing fits into.
So I guess that begs the question. Oh, Patrick. Can you hear you?
3 buckets for CPC. There's the housing bucket, and unless you're going to build condos at Ice Glen, then the open space bucket in the recreational bucket. Every bucket has to get at least 10% of the money that's available from that year. This year's money, not counting past money that we're going to reallocate, is about $432,000, I think. So it's going to be $43,000 a minimum into each of those 2 buckets. So you can apply for one or both. The total pot is going to be somewhere between $600,000 and $700,000.
Okay, thank you.
So what are we, I guess so to get to why we're here, what are we proposing?
I think we're either proposing more treatment at Ice Glen or trail maintenance at Ice Glen. And I don't, Patrick, I don't have a sense of, since the town already put $70,000 into this, if CPC would look negatively on us asking for more from this fund or not, I don't know.
At the select board meeting, we talked about potentially doing a special town meeting around some issues related to bridges. And that would be in March in all likelihood. And if we do one, I would encourage you to try to get a warrant item for the CPC for some of the prior CPC money that is undesignated I think there's about $100,000 in open space that's acquired undesignated. And it'd be great if you could get approval because the current round has to pass town meeting and won't go into effect until fiscal year 23, which starts July 1st. So you would miss the treatment deadline of the spring. You know, first round of treatment. That doesn't mean we couldn't do more treatment later, but you know, if we have the vendor there, it might be nice to try to do as many trees as possible. So
Did you understand my question?
I did. I don't think that anybody. Well, I can't speak for the.
Yeah.
There's-
Okay.
You know, we know that the cost of the treatment is going to be over double. You know, what town allocated and about half of what's available with the donors that we have so far.
Yep.
But so I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for more. I just for it to be able to be available in May, but that's kind of a unknown right now.
So Patrick, what is the fund that has money in it that's left over that does not have to wait till town meeting?
So in prior years, there's because of the requirement that you always put 10% in, one of the options you have is to put money in one of the three buckets, but not spend it or not allocate it. So each of our three buckets has unallocated funds from prior years. That money conceivably, if there was, I don't think that the town would call a special town meeting just for this, though who knows, but it's conceivable that some money could be allocated at a special town meeting for the purpose of that treatment. But like, I'm just saying what's possible. I'm not advocating or suggesting.
I thought CPC allocations always had to be approved by the town, by town.
Special town meeting in March, you could conceivably get funds allocated. At least I think that, you know, it's sort of unfair.
Theoretically, so like we would have to have a special town meeting for it to get it allocated.
I see.
Yeah.
What, anything with the bridges, maybe we could, you know, piggyback.
Well, I feel comfortable with, it seems like we have some funding for this year. We have the RFP, which is going to be submitted. We're going to treat this year. It's kind of like we need to keep this going, keep this extended. So just trying to get at least for the fiscal year 2023, not rushing it or trying to do a special town meeting just to, just to get it in this year. I'd rather be,
So to have treatment for next year.
treatment for next year is we got to start thinking ahead down the line. And also we'll see how this treatment goes. It'll help us really decide which direction, how we're going to want to do in the future. So you're thinking, does that fit in the open space or the recreation bucket?
You could make it.
For either.
And that's something where when we raise it, this is where the informational meeting is really useful, because we say this is what we want to do, and then the Community Preservation Committee will tell us which fund, which designation it fits better in.
Okay.
I was also thinking perhaps you guys might want to do a one of those signage projects similar to what Campusa has up, the Marian Fathers have up at Campusa Bog, where it's like, Shelby, what are those called? Those big sort of horizontal signs that
Oh yeah, interpretive sign or information kiosk, whatever.
That might be another thing to think about. I talked to Michael about that today, and really telling the story of Ice Glen and the archaeology and the rescue effort, and kind of that would also have the additional benefit of helping to solicit donations.
That's a nice idea. Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah.
Got one donor give us $10,000. Every dollar we raise allows us to treat more trees. So this is the official pitch. And if you think it's an important project, feel free to donate to the Town of Stockbridge Ice Glen Fund.
That's great.
Yeah, because I really like that the photo you shared, the bridge way back in the day to Ice Glen. Yeah, that was beautiful. So we're thinking kiosk treatment. Do we just just throwing in with trail maintenance too? Do we just include it in the overall proposal?
Oh, I have to say, one of the things that we need to do before, in order to have a proper proposal, we need to have costs.
Yeah.
So we need to know, we know what the invasive treatment will cost. And I think it's absolutely appropriate to ask for whatever we need that we're short. Or whatever we think we're gonna need for next year, or for the fall and next spring, whatever. I mean, we can get those costs. Interpretive sign, kiosk, I think we could come up with a cost estimate from, there's a sign company that Laurel Hill and a bunch of other organizations around here use. They do really good work. They're it's called GHI sign. They're just over the border in Connecticut. We could probably get a real quick cost estimate from them, just based on the size of what it might be, what we're looking at, and how we want it to be mounted.
So stick with the trees for a minute. Are we thinking of treating the trees that were in the mild category, or retreating the trees that were the high and medium category?
Well, I think.
That's going to make a difference in terms of what we ask.
Go ahead, Patrick.
One tree in the healthy category, the rest are in the bad.
Yeah, so going back to when we were figuring this all out, like you said, we had 226 trees in the poor category. And I think with the money we allocated, we were going to be, if I'm phrasing this right, lucky if we could do about just over half of it, if someone could correct me, of the poor ones. And we were going to focus on the ones closest to the center of the trail, the system.
So this would be treating the other half of the pool.
So theoretically treating the other half, or, and I think, so if we go for the same amount, we can treat the other half, or theoretically more, the ones that are in the fair condition. But also theoretically, when we get down the road, I don't know what the cost will be if we are using a different system that might be more systemic, that might last longer, because from what I understand with what we were doing originally and what we're going to be doing this spring, it's going to be a triage. It's going to take care of the stuff right immediately. But there are, I believe, I understand, other options later on that will be more long-term lasting. So we don't have to treat back to back to back years. But that's for another time.
But so for this application, we would still use Ken's report.
Yeah.
And
Unfortunately,
on the trees that we didn't cover.
Right. The ones that we haven't treated.
So it would be, hello.
So, hey, Abigail.
hi, Abby. Ken told me that a couple months ago that since he wrote the report, he estimates 30 to 50 of those trees have died.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Dying right now. So could be the cost of the project drops because they're so far gone that they can't be treated, or they're already dead. So, we're gonna, that's why I think it's really important to get our ducks in the row.
Right.
Yeah. So, that's really important to include in the application.
Well, that is a great bit. So I'm glad you shared that. So that'll be something we definitely share.
Yeah.
30 to 40 that we're estimating may have already perished since we've identified the problem. So when we go on Wednesday, we're going to be talking that this is for the other half of the poor trees that we theorize we're not going to be able to get in this round with our current funding. We're going to get the other half, if not get into the trees that are in the fair condition from our report.
And I was on CPA in Barrington.
Yeah.
And heard a lot of applications. I would suggest just sticking with this.
Yeah.
And some signage, and maybe doing the stewardship grant for trail maintenance. And not tack on too many things here, just keep it
simple.
what we really want to do.
Well, and I think we actually should do, well, let's see what they recommend, but I think we might want to do two separate proposals, one for the treatment and a second one for the interpretive sign.
Okay, yep, that makes sense.
So what defines, and this is, I'm sure I could look this up, but what defines the bucket that is open space? What is the defining?
We,
Open space is preserving land.
and we used it for invasive management
Gotcha.
and for trails.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, we can do open space for both, but they may recommend that we use recreation for the signs.
Yeah,
Yep,
that
sounds fine.
sounds good.
I think one thing to also emphasize is it's not just about, the fact that we're all tree huggers here. It's also about this. As these trees die, it creates a very dangerous situation for hikers and a tremendously expensive effort to remove the trees. This
Right.
investment that is very cost effective
Right.
because the alternate is actually pretty grim. And I would point people toward Purgatory Chasm, and that is a cautionary tale that 20 years ago had a very similar hemlock grove going up the two sides of the steep, the hills on both sides of it. And all those that's their one USDA zone south of us. And all those hemlocks died, and they've had a tremendous problem in keeping it open because of the dangers of the dead and decaying trees.
Right.
I think, and this will be, I think to that point, like you said, there's 30 to 50 trees that have already died. And when we go for the stewardship grants, I think this will be something we have to talk about further when we're developing our plan for it. But in the advent of a die-off like that, or if some trees die, like those 30 trees and they timber, I think we need to have a discussion about the process. Like you said, I don't personally think we should be removing dead trees from an old growth forest,
Right.
because that is part of the succession of the forest. And I know there's the trails and stuff like that, and this will be for another time when we really start developing the plan, is how to do it in an old growth management style, where we're allowing that tree material to re-assimilate back in, and obviously the trails we'll have to talk about that more.
But that's why it would be good to get Mike Morey
Right.
on the payroll.
Right.
He's going to be the forester, and he would be able to
Yes.
advise us on that.
Yeah, Patrick?
I think we could also bring the trees down and leave them in a way that doesn't cross the trail.
Right. Oh, yeah, no, 100%.
It would also be
So does that change the cost? Does that change the cost for this year? If we were treating, however, 200 trees and,
Well, I think it's based on, because from what I understand, each tree's diameter is different.
Yep.
If you had 226 tiny trees versus 226 massive ones. So I think when we get the bids back for the RFP, they're gonna tell us how many they're gonna get to
Okay.
with the cost. Because the other thing is, it is such a complicated landscape because
Right.
of the actual glen itself. We'll find out when they get back to us. And just a word on that, I found out from Michael today, based on consultation with Ken. So the RFP is going to go out at the end of February.
okay,
So it'll take about 6 weeks, and that should line up nicely with the warm weather so that they'll be able to get in there right in time.
Good.
Just because of the laws of putting the RFP out, from what I understand, the companies can only hold the bid price for, I think, 60 days. So he had to wait, instead of sending out right at the 1st of January, he had to make sure that it was in time so they could bid, hold the price, and then go out and get the work done.
one other idea for signage.
Mm-hmm.
But if there are trees along the trail that end up dying, having to be taken down, in some way, I would love to memorialize those trees and say this tree was lost due to, invasive species and climate change or something. Just having a little plaque on the stump.
Yeah. Good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Of what the cost was, of what we're going through at this point in time. Because the stumps might last 50 years, I don't know, just kind of sort of, tell that story as you walk along the trail.
Or maybe to that point, even on the kiosk itself, we have a pretty good count of how many trees there were as of a certain date. We could also mark how many of them have passed as time goes on, and keep that as kind of, could eventually be part of Arbor Day ceremonies, theoretically.
On Arbor Day.
on Arbor Day. All right, so Abigail, I know you came in late. Do you have any questions or thoughts about where we're at?
At the moment, not really, but I do like the idea of the signs. Although it would be a little bit sad to read all of them, I think it would bring attention to all the people who hike there. So that was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So just in terms of action items, Shelby, not to put this on you, but since you know of the sign shop, can you get us a rough estimate by Wednesday? If they can do it by Wednesday?
Yeah, I think I'll call them in the morning, and I'll give them the dimensions that I've used before. Something that, have you been up to Laurel Hill Park lately, since the summer? Into the rostrum in the glen there?
Nice signage. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's an interpretive sign there that's kind of wide and, narrow but wide.
Yeah.
And, we could just say, just for the sake of cost estimate, give us an estimate for that. I'm pretty sure they did that for Laurel Hill Association. So I'm just ask them, just give us an estimate for something comparable.
Yeah.
Sweet.
That's very nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Patrick, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Maybe just a little higher up in the air, a little, higher off the ground, and a little wider, similar to the Campusa one that the Marion Fathers have.
Yeah, the Campusa one is good. Patrick, do you happen to know if Guy Signs did that one?
I'm sure they can do it, even if they didn't do it.
Yeah, okay. And one thing, because of the nature of the space around the trail at Ice Glen, we may want something long and narrow to go next to the trail, or if there's an open space, we can have something a little wider. But it's got to obviously be something that you see from the trail and have to go off the trail in order to read. So.
And the question is, do you want it at both ends, or do you want it just on the Park Street side?
Oh, I think it should be at both ends. That's a good point.
And along those lines, I would add a few $1,000s either for Guy or an actual graphic designer to design it and come up with the graphics. I think we should really try to make sure it's spectacular.
What's the other company you said?
No, I think Guy is fine, but I think Guy is the production company. Whether or not they have a designer on staff, or you hire a graphic designer, you're going to want to make sure there's a budget for the graphics, not just the words. So I would add, being in this business, I would add a couple thousand.
Yeah, I think that Guy will do the graphic design and create the files. But I'll check. I kind of remember them saying that they would do that.
They they want to have like somebody who specializes in this kind of design, is all I'm saying. I mean, they probably do. I don't know. Just make sure.
If not, I'll give you a holler, and you can give me an idea of what a freelance might cost.
All right, I think we got a good plan. So we'll go on Wednesday, and then I think the next date for our meeting we'll keep in February. which is the 7th, if I'm correct. If that's okay with everyone.
So that gives us 3 days.
It will give us 3 days. I mean, well, we'll find out Wednesday. And then on the 7th, we'll bring what we have, get it all straightened out, and then have it ready for the end of the week.
Okay.
Is that treatment proposal separate from the proposal for all this other stuff?
Say that again?
We keep the treatment proposal
Yes,
separate from the proposal for all this other stuff. Because all this
right.
can be funded in the next cycle. If they're gonna do treatment, they really need to kind of figure out a way to do it before May, right?
Yeah.
And it's 70,000 that we're asking for the,
We don't have a quote yet, but I think that the entire cost of treatment is gonna be 150 to 175, isn't that right? You know?
in
And I think-
addition,
Well, not in addition. So we have 70. So it sounds like 70.
80,
Yeah, 80.
500,
Yeah. Yeah.
1,500. So another,
What we spent on and on the ash trees.
That's right.
Before, I think, something like that, 73.
okay.
So just to be clear, we'll say 80. Was that,
Let's say 80 and
let's say 80.
won't get the whole thing.
Yeah.
We'll ask for 80.
We'll ask for 80. Because we have,
And we just have to, for the proposal, we'll have to have the documentation to show why we got that number.
yeah.
Yep.
And do you guys have a plan for monitoring the ash trees and or the hemlocks after they've been treated? I don't know anything about how to do that, but I'm just wondering what the plan is, kind of,
Well,
Yeah. you know,
I would think Mike Morey, if he's the active forester, would keep an eye on that.
And I think that's kind of the goal for when we're applying for the stewardship grants to develop this plan. And that will be included probably in the actual forestry plan to make sure that we include monitoring so that we are paying attention to what is coming and going.
And one more question, letters of support for it would be good.
yeah,
I mean, I don't know if we could use the same letters. We had letters of support for did we have it for this? We had it for the old growth network. I don't know if we had it for the,
that's some for USDA as well.
say it again?
We had some for the USDA grant.
We did. Yep. Can we use the same letters?
You know, I've talked to, about the MVP grant. I've talked to Mass Audubon. I talked to the Stockbridge Muncie Indian tribe. Talked to HVA. You know, there's 4 or 5 that I've talked to and kind of given them a heads up that we're going to be asking them for letters. Oh, Berkshire Natural Resources. So we use those as sort of a one-size-fits-all letter of support.
So can we use the same letters of support that we had for the DCR grant?
I don't know, I assume so.
I'd probably reach out to ask them.
Okay.
Because then that way, you know, they can decide if they want to use the same language, we can support them, or if
Ask them.
ask the letter writers for the DCR grant.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that,
I'll get a 7 o'clock food for work. Need anything, call me. Thanks.
Eric?
Thank you, Patrick.
So, yeah, we'll just check and maybe we'll do this on Wednesday.
And then go.
Then we'll figure out the letters and just ask them if it's all right to either use similar language or if they want to write something completely
It'd be
new.
nice if we could just submit this.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't.
Well, and to be fair, they might just say, go ahead and use the already written letter. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else? Any new business anyone want to bring up before we'll meet in a couple weeks?
Okay, can I say one word on Arbor Day?
Yeah.
Just, I spoke to Matt about a possible joint project with Austin Riggs for Arbor Day to purchase seedlings and distribute them for free in town, either Earth Day or Arbor Day sometime in that week. And it's cleared everything at Austin Riggs. They will buy the seedlings, and we can use the greenhouse there. Patients and staff are really excited about this project, and they can use the greenhouse there to package everything. Maybe on this committee, we can make some posters. That would be nice. So we have some involvement too, but I think it would be a really nice Arbor Day project that we can count towards Tree City USA and have some collaboration with Riggs, which I think.
That sounds wonderful.
Yep. So I can give, and do we need approval on this end from someone, I would think?
For,
I mean, other than maybe just committee approval?
I guess, which part of it?
I don't know, just because it's a project, I don't know.
I think as long, my understanding, Patrick just left, but I think we can be in support. And also if we're gonna go out and make posters and stuff, as long as we're not spending too much capital. But so I think what we'll do is on the next meeting, we'll talk about it and plan it. Of what we want to do. Because I know, Abigail, we had also talked about in the future, trying to set up on Arbor Day, whenever we celebrate it. Also collecting tree seeds and creating our own, because I think I like to push us almost a little bit more on Arbor Day on top of that, because we are abundance of forests. We're lucky.
Yeah.
So figuring out how we could, save seeds without disturbing the natural cycle of everything, and then distributing them to communities that might not have as much forest. Like that long-term strategy. But starting with this for our first Arbor Day celebration and getting that momentum going, I think would be huge.
That's a neat idea about collecting seeds and growing our own seedlings to distribute. And when it comes to that, I wonder if we could consult with Jess Toro, Native Habitat Restoration, because I know that she establishes seedlings of a variety of native plants that she plants in in the areas that she's working on. And so she's not only relying on plant material that comes in from elsewhere, she's developing her own plugs. So she may be able to advise us about how to do that.
It would be nice to invite her to a meeting sometime.
Yeah.
I think we could learn a lot.
So that is a long term, but I think we should keep talking about it, really push ourselves to give. I feel like we can give more down the road here to Arbor Day. All right.
Okay.
That being said, I will make a motion to bring this meeting to adjournment. Do I have a second?
Go for it.
Yes. Second.
Here in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys so much for showing up. I'll see you Wednesday.